Hi, Algebra 2. We're going to start our next unit, which is called quadratics. All right, so these first few are just foiling, which is that double distribute, which you've probably done in Algebra 1, probably maybe even before. So double distribute x, 2x, x squared, that's 5x, that's 10. Combine those like terms, so I get x squared plus 7x plus 10. If we FOIL this, I'm going to get x squared minus 10x minus 4x plus 40. So that's x squared minus 14x plus 40. This one, you get x squared plus 2x minus 7x minus 14. Combine those like terms. X squared plus 10x minus 3x minus 30. Combine your like terms. And x squared plus 7x plus 7x plus 49. So x squared plus 14x plus 49. Oops, that's a 49. And then this is a conjugate, so we're going to get x squared minus 7x plus 7x minus 14, or 49. Remember, those are going to cancel out because we had opposite value. Okay, let's go ahead and skip those. All right, let's take a look here. So it looks like I could factor a 5. So that's 5xxxx minus 5 times 4xxx. So I can factor a 5 out of both and an xxx. So 5x to the third comes out. I'm left with x minus 4 inside. Do the same idea here. I can factor 3x out of both. That's going to leave me x minus 2. On this one, I can factor out a 4 from both, an x from both, and a y from both. And that's going to leave me 3x minus 1. That's a y right there. In this one, I can factor out a 3, a u, and a v squared. That's going to leave me 2uv plus 7, and it's done. And then they start getting a little goofy. Okay, so I can factor a 2 out. I have p to the 6th, p to the 5th, p to the 4th, so I can factor out a p to the 4th, q to the 2nd, q to the 3rd, q to the 4th. I can factor out a q to the 2nd. That's the max I can take out. That leaves me 5p squared minus 2pq plus p squared q to the 2nd squared as well. On this one, I can factor out a 3. I have x to the 3rd, x to the 2nd, x, so I can factor an x out. I have y to the 2nd, y to the 2nd, y to the 3rd, so I can factor a y to the 2nd out of both. That leaves me 3x squared. And then that also leaves me minus 2x, and then that will give me a y squared, or a y to the 1st, excuse me. All right, and then we started factoring the binomials. So basically, if you have a lead out front in front of the x squared, which is a 1, you can do it this way. What two numbers multiply together to give me positive 12, add together to give me negative 7. So think about negative 3 and negative 4 multiplied together. That gives me positive 12. If I add them together, I get negative 7. Okay, this next problem, we're going to do the same idea. We have x and x. What two numbers multiply together to give me negative 14, add together to give me positive 5. So I think it has to be a positive 7 and a negative 2. If I multiply those together, I get negative 14. If I add them, I get positive 5. So I just plug them straight in. Number 9, what two numbers multiply to give me positive 21, add together to give me negative 10, and now it has to be negative 3 and negative 7. Those multiplied gives me positive, so I'm going to get x minus 3 and x minus 7. What two numbers multiply to give me 25, add together to give me 10, and that would be 5 and 5, plugged right in here. And then it starts getting strange. So we have a negative 2 that I can factor out of everything. Notice it's changing the signs. And then we see if we can factor this a little bit further. So we're just going to look at this portion. What two numbers multiply to give me positive 32, add to give me positive 18. So 32 is 1 and 32, 2 and 16. 3 doesn't want 4 and 8. So 2 and 16 is going to work if they're both positive. Or 2 and 16, sorry about that. So this whole thing is our answer. Don't forget that negative out front. On this one, I could factor a 4 out of everything first. What's your number? And then that 4 is going to come down. What's your numbers multiply to give me -2, add to give me -1. It's going to be a -2 and a +1. Just plug those directly in just like that. Watch your signs. Keep that. Make sure that 4 is out front. Number 3, I'm going to factor a -1 out first because I don't want a -x squared. So that'll change all the signs. So that negative is going to come down. What's your numbers multiply to give me -24, add to give me -10. And I would say -12 and +2. Those multiplied give me -24, add to give me -10. So plug those exact signs in just like that. This next problem, I'm going to factor a 5 out, and I'm going to change the order of it. So the x squared is going to come first, plus 3x when I factored the 5 out of there, and then minus 10. So that 5 is going to come down for the ride. What's your numbers multiply to give me -10, add to give it there to give me +3. That's going to give me a -5 and a +2. That works out that way. All right, let's just real quick work these. This will be your homework, but we're going to work it out pretty quickly so you have that opportunity to double check. So if I factor a 5a squared out of both, that's going to leave me 3a to the third minus 4. If I factor a 7x out of both of these, that's going to give me 2x squared minus 1. If I factor a 2a and a b out, I'm left with 9b minus 3a, and that's all done. Oops, did I do that right? I could have factored a 6 out originally. Make that a 6. And that's going to give me a 3 there, and that's going to give me a 2 there. Okay, we can go ahead and factor a 10c squared d out of everything. That's going to give me a c plus 3. This particular problem, let's see, 7 and x comes out of everything. That leaves me 7x to the third minus 2x squared minus 4, and that's all done. This one, I can factor a 2, a to the second out of everything, and a b out of everything. That's going to leave me 3a squared minus 5ab minus 3b. Let's factor these completely. What two numbers multiply together to give me -28, add to give me -11, and that's -4 and -7. On this particular problem, I can factor a -3 out first. That's going to leave me x squared plus 2x minus 15. And so then the -3 comes down. Create your parentheses. What two numbers multiply to give you -15, add to give you +2. I'm going to go +5 and -3, and there's your answer. Oops, what's going on here? Okay, number 9. What two numbers multiply to give me +16, add to give me +8? It'd be +4 and +4. Or 4 times 4 is 16. 4 plus 4 is 8. This one, I'm going to do z and z. What two numbers multiply to give me -24? Add to give me -5. So it's going to be, if I add those together, I get -5. I multiply, I get -24. This next one, I can factor a 3 out of everything. So then I'm going to have this. And that 3 comes down. What two numbers multiply to give me 9? Add to give me -6. It's going to be -3 and -3. On here, I'm going to factor a negative out first. Change all the signs. That negative comes down. What two numbers multiply to give me -30? Add to give me -1. That's going to be a -6 and a +5. Number 13, I can factor a 5 out of everything. That's going to leave me v squared minus 7v minus 30. 5 comes down. What two numbers multiply to give me Negative 30, add to give me negative 7. So 30 is 1 and 30. That's not going to work. 2 and 15 won't work. 3 and 10 works. So negative 10 and positive 3. I can factor an x out of both of these. That leaves me x squared minus 3x minus 70. What two numbers multiply together to give me negative 70, add to give me 3. So I have, let's see, 1 and 70, 2 and 35. 3 doesn't work, 4 doesn't work, 5 and 12. 6 doesn't work, 7 and 10. 7 and 10 is going to work. So negative 10 and positive 7 will add together to give me those. Number 15, what two numbers multiply to give me negative 32, add to give me negative 14. So I know I have a plus and a negative. 32 is 1 and 32, 2 and 16. So it's going to be a 2 here and a negative. Well, if I add those together, I get the negative 14. What two numbers multiply together to give me negative 7, add to give me positive 6. So it's going to be a negative 1 and a positive 7. If I multiply those, negative 7. If I add them, I get positive 6. This one looks a little goofy. We're going to have x and y with both. Okay, what two numbers, now that I have that, what two numbers multiply to give me 8, add to give me 9? It's going to be plus 8 and plus 1, and it's done. So same thing, I have an x and I have a y on both. What two numbers multiply to give me negative 21, add to give me negative 4, and that's going to give me negative 7 and plus 3. All right, that's all we have for you. Remember, those worked out from the homework weren't for you just to copy down. You should have practiced them. Make sure you're going to have a great day. Take care, one.